Hi there, welcome to Apple World. Diddy is on his fourth claim for ass in addition to other things in the past few weeks, and there have been visually impaired things and bits of gossip that he has mishandled and attacked men too. Here is another visually impaired thing. I suspect the soon-to-step forward male survivor of S.A. by this elite tycoon won't be the last man to do so. And again, this is purportedly Shaddy coming to you as a poor, terrible kid at one point. What is your opinion about these claims? Blaming Diddy for what is your take on that And do you believe he can do that, man? It's in his personality, that is what his identity is, that accompanies power, that accompanies self-importance, that accompanies you understand what makes him once you have an indication of doing. It again and again, that is the point at which it turns into an issue you resemble, so every relationship that you get in you're in them now, assuming you feel that Diddy's supposedly trying and putting hands on his exes was the most terrible piece of his current circumstance. You better reconsider on the grounds that there is a great deal more that is going to be uncovered. Entertainer Brshere has now made some noise about how Diddy purportedly saw him as well as attempted to involve him as a penance in a screwed-up Hollywood custom. Purportedly, it looks like Bryshere is wary of experiencing peacefully on the grounds that he is currently shouting out, and the things he's needed to say are only terrible, no doubt. And it looks like another situation is going to become opened about Diddy favoring from Satan, so quit saying that it's a God-favoring cuz you all continuous. Sly discussing these rappers continuously discussing and you all the every one of these idiotic ass inept ass talks. Gracious, this God favor what God believe you should do, no. This not what God maintains that you should do, so you go through this Satan, give you this cash, go through this to annihilate yourself, you all. It seems as though there is something else to Diddy besides. We know in light of the fact that Brshere is presently emerging to uncover how Diddy supposedly attempted to forfeit him for a Hollywood custom. Now, what because of Cassie, we as a whole realize about Diddy's little oddity off meetings and how he attempts to take out his operations for crossing him. Supposedly, yet, as we thought there was a great deal more that Cassie avoided with regard to her claim that we're presently beginning to learn about, and it's anything but a beautiful sight as per entertainer Brshere. In addition to the fact that Diddy killed his vocation, he really attempted to forfeit him as a penance in a Hollywood custom. Purportedly now, this isn't whenever that Diddy first has been accounted for to be engaged with a few obscure things that purportedly include penances. Recollect when Kanye West on his tirade last year and uncovered numerous individuals in the business for ultimately depend on some obscure stuff and making human forfeits. Well, Diddy was one of the main names that he referenced when he talked about superstars who perform human forfeits. This reality will be heard. You can't send any of you all mild plants, doggies, or little boos. None of these names, none of these individuals that need to pay attention to you all since they're managing, have legitimate I never know no one right. I'm the one who never knows no one right, except for that. Which implies I can express what I might be thinking and not go to prison. And regardless of whether they sort out a way, I'm as yet not withdrawing from what I said. Jewish individuals did terrible business. I'm Semite, so I can't be hostile to Semitic. They took our set of experiences from us. They took what our identity is, and it's up in Jesus' name. So be it. You all have a decent night now. You all can call Kanye insane or whatever you all need to, yet the reality actually stays that he ain't never been trapped in obviously false truth yet. So when he spills some tea on how the business functions, individuals have been listening. Isn't it fascinating the way in which the business as a rule attempts to paint him as insane and off of his drugs? At whatever point he begins spilling tea on what's happening in the business? Can isn't the one in particular whom the business has attempted to paint as being insane for attempting to uncover them, since Puma Wright has additionally been met with that equivalent treatment. Panther, some way or another, has all the tea on the absolute most influential individuals in Hollywood. And they attempted to call her insane as a result of it. However, no one has at any point sued her for that illuminate and individuals except that this is on the grounds that she's coming clean and has a receipts to back up her cases. Now, in the event that there was one individual, what Jaguar's identity is continually spilling tea on is Diddy. She has had her foot immovably on Diddy's neck for some time now. She has been attempting to caution us for a really long time that there is something else entirely to Diddy then. at that point, meets the eye and he isn't who he's professed to be currently, similar to Kanye Wise indicated, the way that Diddy was engaged with a few obscure penances. She brought up how unusual it was that every individual who worked at Uptown Records with Diddy was dead aside from being certain. And Al nearly kicked the bucket when he got a stroke quite a while back. The Uptown Records began with 5 music individuals: Andre Harrell, Albee, Shore, Wadey D, Puffy, and Kim's dead. Wadey D is dead. Andre Harley is dead. The main 2 remaining are Puffy and Al nearly kicked the bucket. She likewise called attention to how odd it was that they generally died under a few exceptionally dubious conditions. Wadey was tracked down dead face down, and he had cardiovascular failure. Andre Harrell's coronary episode, Kim passed on from pneumonia. Yet there's the principal coroner's report that said that she kicked the bucket. It was controlled by a manslaughter who tracked down poisons in her body to demonstrate that she had been harmed. You realize that they have harms that cause coronary episodes and pneumonia-like side effects. She then, at that point, discussed how fascinating it was that they were all during the time spent uncovering Diddy when they, out of nowhere, passed. You need to understand what they all shared, practically speaking, but the survivors and the late of Uptown Records were all composing TAL music books. Andre was composing a book just before he passed away. Wadey D was dealing with a book before he kicked the bucket. Kim Watchman was chipping away at a book before she passed on, and Al Brshere was chipping away at the narrative of his life, and afterward, he goes into a soul, like I said. There have been bits of gossip for quite a while about Diddy fitting individuals, so Brshere emerging to recount his story isn't exactly distant from what we've heard. It just so happens there has been a discussion for some time about how individuals were not finished uncovering Diddy sometime back. A visually impaired thing went raw, which guaranteed that few young fellows in the business were planning to take a stand in opposition to Diddy, is on his 4th claim for ass in addition to other things in the past late weeks. And there have been visually impaired things and tales that he has manhandled and attacked men too. Here is another visually impaired thing. I suspect the soon-to-step forward male survivor of S.A-ing by this elite tycoon won't be the last M to do so. And again, this is supposedly Shay Diddy brushes. Now in the E. And that you're considering how Bryshere came to be the ensnarement with Diddy? He purportedly has Charlie Mack and Will Smith to thank for that Bryshere had without exception needed to turn into a rapper from an extremely youthful age. Yet when he was found by Charlie Mack, Charlie couldn't get him in the music business anyway. He had the option to get him in a tryout of his show domain, which was connected with music in a manner Bryshere handled the job. And despite the fact that he valued the open door, he was still up in the air to be a rapper. He had recruited Charlie as his director, and he provided him with the undertaking of making him a hotshot. Chris was the ideal person for the gig since he had a ton of associations in the business. Chris acquainted Brshere with Will Smith, and he encouraged Bryshere as a mentee. Currently, like I said, Bryshere needed to be a rapper and his guide. Will Smith helped him by acquainting him with Diddy, who is one of the forces to be reckoned with in the rap business. No doubt, it seemed to be the ideal setup. Bryshere was not set in stone, and he had the means to make him a hotshot, so it ought to have worked entirely right. Well, not precisely. You know how they say that no good thing comes easy? Well, Bryshere realized this was the most difficult way possible, and he learned it well. Currently glancing back at what we purportedly have some familiarity with Will Smith and Diddy, we ought to have seen the warnings about them both encouraging a young fellow. Yet that was then, and we didn't have any idea what we know now. On the off chance that you all missed the tea, the roads are presently saying that Will and Diddy have been engaged in a furtively gay relationship since the 90s. There have been tales about the two of them being on the DL for a really long time, and even, however, Diddy has had the option to conceal the bits of hearsay. The tales are still there. For instance, Alexis Rhett, who knew Will on an individual level, spilled the tea that Will's most memorable union with Sheree Zampino finished on the grounds that Cher got him in bed with the man Alexis composed, when Jada emerged as gay and her facial hair growth spouse conceded his most memorable marriage finished when she strolled into him, overhauling his friendly benefactor Benny Medina. Then I will pay attention to them. She, being his most memorable spouse, took care of him in a tirade against Jada Pinkett Smith. Trisha P has called Will out for supposedly driving her male artists to lay down with him. What about stress over your deceiving husband, my male artist? You know when they would rather not discuss that? Afterward, Panther emerged to uncover that Will had illicit relationships with different, more youthful men in the business. She guaranteed that he professes to guide the men. However, at that point, he supposedly drives them into a relationship that leaves them damaged, and young fellows have gone out shouting to move away from them in their mentorship. Compliant Plant's Brshere Dim went out shouting August, the one in particular that remained, and I surmise he was truly wiped out. He wanted the assistance. However, is it just me, or does this sound very like what Will Smith and Diddy are claimed to have done to Brshere? Discussing Diddy, there have been reports of him enjoying folks who are way more youthful than he is. And in 2013, he was purportedly a subject of a government examination as per reports during a DA preparation meeting with bureaucratic. Subscribe Apple World for more videos.